everyone, welcome back for another video tutorial. So for this video, we are going to look at the ways that how can we support multiple languages for your applications. So in order to add this support, the first step that we are going to do is I have provided this is going to be the snippet for you so you can copy and paste in your applications. Okay, and the libraries that we're going to use for this support is called easy localizations. So for the first step, in order to support this, we are going to add this library here in your publics.yaml file, which is available right here, pubspec.yaml, and make sure that you have include this, okay, in here and hit pubget to get this dependency. Now, once this dependency has been installed in your applications, then the next step is we are going to prepare directly for translations. So go ahead and go to your asset file and say new directly here, and I'm going to call it translations. Alright, now inside this folder, because we are going to support 3 different languages, so we should have 3 different files. Each file will have translation for each language. So in this case, we are going to support English, Thai, and Chinese. So go ahead and create 3 different files. But now to name your file, you should know something here. The name of the file should have this naming convention starting with the language code, dash, and the country code. Now you can find this information from the internet. Okay, so for example, if you want to support English for USA, then you use EN dash and US. For Thai, this is the country code. This is the language code for Thai language, and capital TH is used to support the country code. Now for Chinese, because there are some variation like Chinese Hong Kong, Chinese Taiwan, and Chinese mainlands. So the one that they use for the main one is CH as the language of Chinese, and the CN is to support the country code. Okay, so let's go ahead and create these 3 different files right now in translations. So go ahead and create new file and call the first one is going to support CH and cn.json. So this is for Chinese translations. Then the second file will be for th and th.json. This is for Thai language translation for Thai country. And another one which is en English for US country.json. Alright, once you have already created 3 different files, the next step is just to include this JSON structure in each file, starting with this. So for example, if you go to this and you have this one, that means you intended to have 2 translation. There are 2 key. Whenever we use home for the key, then translation in English will be home. Same thing, so we are going to copy this for Thai. So let's go ahead and go to th and dash th. So whenever you use the key home, the translation is going to be written in Thai. Alright, so now for the last one, which is for the Chinese language, then whenever we use the home, this is the translation. When we use the word setup, this is the translations. Alright, what else? So once you have already prepared a new folder called translations, you're going to have to let the application know about this new folder as well. So go ahead and go to the PubSpec and go down to these locations, and you're going to have to add asset / translation and another slash, and make sure that you hit pubget to update your application as well. Now during the time you're creating this application and you update this, okay, later on you're gonna need to rebuild your application to support this structure. Alright, now once this is done, now the next step is going to be how can we use this language translation in the app. Okay, now we have provided 3 different files for translation. We add dependency. The next step is to tell the application about this support. So in order to do this, let's go ahead and go to this step. So step number 3 is to wrap the loop widget with easy localization. So this can be easily done by going to the main.dash. And now you can see that right now the main widget root is chain notifier provider. This is what we did for the last lab. Okay, now lab number 8 here is if you want to wrap this into support of easy localization. This is going to be the child of easy localization. So go ahead and go to this and place alternate and enter. So this is going to wrap this as a child of the widgets. The widget's name is going to be easy localization. Now this is not a done deal for this because you have to indicate or define for 3 different things, starting with support for how many language. So we're gonna have to do that. We have to define right here, and part that contain the translation file. And the last thing is the default translation. Okay, so like you want the first translation to be Thai or Chinese to show at the first time you run the application. So there are 3 steps for this, starting with the first one. So over here, you just have to add the parameter support local. And this is the list that support 3 different objects. The first object is going to be support for Chinese. So we go ahead and say new local to create the new objects. And you have to pass 2 parameters, non-name parameter. The first one is the country code, the language code, and the second one is going to be the country code. And as I told you that since local, since does not need the new, so you can just take away the new here, and you can go ahead and add the second support. So the second support will go for Thai language, so TH and capital TH. So this one is the language code, and this is the country code. Now the last one, local, for English and for US. Alright, so that's the first setup. Now the second setup, you have to tell where is the location that you keep the translation file. So now we keep it into translation folders. So we can go ahead and say part, and we say that this is going to be inside asset / translation. And note that you don't have to put slash right here. No need for this. Okay. Alright, and the last one is for the default language. So you have to set this up over the use of fallback local. And we're gonna need to pass the object local as well. And the default language is going to be English in this case. Alright, what else? So once this step is done, we just now equip the application with the way to localize your application. The word localize means you can translate the application in many languages. Okay. The next step is number 4. So once we already tell the loop that okay, we need the language support for translations in 3 different languages. Then the next step is we also have to tell the material app about this support. So go ahead, and now what you need to do is you're gonna have to go to the material app and grab this, okay, and you have to add this parameter in the material app. So go ahead, and now you can see that we have 1 parameter for this. Okay, we have 2 parameters. So 1 parameter for material app is the indication of where is the home page. And now we also say that we don't need the debug label right here. So you can go ahead and copy this whole thing here and then put it into the material app. Alright, so as soon as you put it in this case, you can see that, oh, the material app requires the access of the context. But now you can see that whenever you create the material app, you create it this way. Okay, so in order to have access to the context, you have to turn material app into the stateless widgets. So we can do that really easily by click over here, and then one more time, go to material app, and you can see that now material app doesn't provide access to the context. Okay, not until we click over here, refactor, and then we turn this into flutter widgets. Okay, and I'm going to call this as my app. Alright, so you can see that now this altogether previously was my material app, now become a new class that extends from stateless widgets. And because we have the build function here that have access to the context, now we should have no trouble accessing the context right here. Let's look at this one more time. So previously we put this parameter directly as a parameter inside material app, and as you can see now, it say that they cannot access to the context. So the only way to have access to the context is to turn this material app into the class. Okay, so then create the object for that class. So in order to do this easily is right click, then refactors, and extract this as the new class, and I call my app. So the my app new object will be created here, and this object is belong to the class that just created here, and they just move everything that we have previously right in here. Okay, so now you have access to the context parameter. So done. So that's step number 5. Now this is not finished yet. So in order to support this application for iPhone or iOS device, now for those who are using these applications, debugging this on the real device or simulators, okay, you're gonna need to also include this key, okay? So copy this and then go ahead and open this file. This file is located right here. So if you go to your project structure, then you should see that there is a folder called iOS. So go ahead and expand it. And now there is a folder called Learner. Just expand it as well. And then go and make sure that you can see the file names info.plist. This is the file that the iOS developer will be used so that we can add permissions and key that is used by the iOS. So now let's copy and paste right here. Make sure that the copy that you put it in is inside the structure of the dict. So over here, the dict right here is the key, the parent keys, and over here you can add many keys as you like. One of the key that we added in is to support the following language. So that is for Chinese, Thai, and English. Okay. Now once this step is done, okay, so we are going to need to provide the ways that we can switch between languages. So in this case, I have prepared the page that allow you to open up so that we can switch to many language. So let's go ahead for this step here. Let's copy together everything that I have in this snip. So let's go ahead and come here, and you can always modify this later on. So let me copy this, and we are going to create a new file called language setup page. So go to your lib folders, and in the lib folder we have the page folder here. Just go ahead and create a new file. That's going to be that file, and call it language setup page. Okay, I think I already have it up here. Okay, so let me just remove it and put it here one more time. So you can see now that I just have the new page that is called language setup page. It's nothing but the application page that provides the list of the language that allow us to switch to. For example, over here we have column. The column contains child. Each child is the makeup of these widgets, okay, and divide and then separated by the divider. For each title here, okay, so we are going to have the support for Chinese, Thai, and English. So each time when you switch to this, then you can see that we also have the commands to switch over to each language. Now if you go back and visit main.dash one more time here, so when we say so that inside easy localization, we have three different support, including the first one, Chinese, second one, Thai, the third one, English. Okay, so whenever you say you want to switch to each of these language, then we use the index starting with 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so over here, so that is why when you switch to Chinese, we use 0 index, and Thai is the second one, and English is the last one. All right, now this is the page that we are going to open using drawer. So let's go ahead and go to your product list page. Here's an implement drawer together. So inside drawer here, we're going to have a simple drawer that the child of this is going to be the list view. Okay. Now, list view will have students. So we're going to put just one item. So we're going to have list tile. So this list tile, we have two parts, the icon and the text. So let's put the icon first. So I'm going to have to put leadings, and I put icon widgets and icon.language. Okay. And the second parameter will be the title. The title will be the text. Okay. And say switch. What about setup? Okay, what about just setup? All right, now let me run the application right here. So over here, now that you can see that with the drawer added to the applications, now we have the drawer, and we have also a list view that contain list tile. We only have a single list tile. That is why we have only single item here. This item have, okay, the leading part over here, which is the icon, and the title is setup. So now, in order to move to the language page setup, we're gonna need to go ahead and register for on click. So on tab here, so we are going to say we have anonymous functions, and we want to move to another page. So let me copy this. All right, and come down to this location. So first, close the drawer, and then move to the language setup page. Okay, so that's gonna be two things. So this one I have to move to language setup page. Okay, and before I move to this, I have to close the drawer. In order to close the drawer, we say navigator dot push, and then put the context. Oh, sorry, pop. Push means we move to the new one. Pop means we close the current one. All right, so that is semicolon here because now we are inside functions structure. Okay, so we need commands. Good. All right, so let me rerun these applications. So right now, let me go to the line and restart this. All right, so right now if I go to this, it's going to, when I click over here, it's gonna close this window and open another window for the language page. So as you can see now that it shows this page. This page is automatically done because I give you the code. It's basically the application page that contains the list. Inside the list, we have three different list tile that you can click, and when it click, okay, it's gonna move to the new language for you. But we also have to tell that what part that we need translation. For example, if you want to have translation for this title here, okay, so we're gonna need to do something more. So go ahead and go to your product list page, and then because we need these translations, so we're gonna have to go to the app bar, and for this translation to be happens, for right now, for any translation to be possible, you have to add this. Okay, so let me go ahead and add this import for each file that you need translation. So whenever you add this one in there, okay, what's gonna happen is that now for any text widget, you can call function tr for automatic translation. Now let's take a look at this. So without this inclusion, so let me remove this file. If I trying to call function tr from here, you can see that this is not possible. But if I include this file right here, then whenever I want to access to translation for any text, then I can just say .tr, and now it's become possible. And for a simple translation, you just put .tr and parentheses. Now, whenever you switch to the new language, this is what's gonna happen. The application will look at your root file, which is main.das, and say, oh, now we have translations. So it depends on what language that you switch to. For example, if you switch to Chinese, so they are gonna go to any child, any students that okay have called the function tr, and they are going to translate this into particular language like Chinese or Thai or English. So let's try to see if this is possible now. Let's go ahead and let's review the application one more time. Because we have changes in terms of translation, so it's better. This is my recommendation to just review the whole thing. Now let's just make, while we are waiting for this process to get done, let's make a quick review for what we have done so far. First, we go ahead and tell that we have need to include easy localizations. We also say that we also want to include this folder in our application. So that is why we go ahead and create this folder. Inside this folder is going to be translation for 3 different languages. The code name starts with language, dash, and country code. So inside each file is basically the key and the translation. So in Thai, we have the same key with uh, with another translation data. Okay, so same thing. So over here, these 3 files we have equal key, that means all the equivalent key but different translation data. So that's the first step. The second step, we say, hey, for the main.das, you need to wrap your existing parent widgets into easy localization and define 3 things. How many languages that you want to support, the part that you keep your translation file, which is over here, and what is the default language that you want to open it up. So you can see that right now when I open the app, it default to the English. Okay, and then also for your material app, you're gonna need to wrap, convert it into static widgets and create the instance of it. Over here inside the material app itself, you just add 3 more parameters like this. Okay, all right, and after that is done, you implement the page that allow us to switch over to another language. And in order to open this page, that is why I implement a drawer over here. The drawer will be used to open the language switching page. Okay. Now for each switching, it's look at the index. So you can see that I use 0, 1, and 2 is because I register this accordingly in here. So the first language will be Chinese, the second one is Thai, and the last one is English. And whenever I want to switch, when I say 0, mean it is the first one. So for the first one, I use 0. The second one for Thai, I use number 1 and so on, because in for the array, 0 is the first element. All right. Okay, let's go ahead and see if we can have translation. And as you can see now, I want this to get translation for the products. So that is why I go to the product list page and import this library here. And then for any text that I need translation, I put .tr and put parentheses. Now let's go ahead and see if this is possible. If I go to the setup, let's say if I want to translate it in Chinese, I click over here and they say that localization key is not file. Okay, so let's take a look at this. Now if I, all right, uninstall this, see if this situation will be improved. Okay, now let's rerun again. Okay, so sometimes there might be a question about like the country code and the language. You can go ahead and go to this and say language and country code. Okay, so over here they will list, inside the Google they will list the country code and the language that you can use. So you can go ahead and open this and see if there is any things that are supported for your language. For example, if you go to CH, you can see that now we have CH, which is Chinese for Hong Kong, PRC, Singapore, and Taiwan. You also have English for different country like this. Okay, all right. So now it's still landing here. That what else that I would like to cover here. Let me take a look at this. So okay, all right, I think the building process is done, and now it should go ahead and open up the applications. Now this time, see if I have any changes that apply to this setup. So if I click over here, setup, I want to go to Thai. Still, they say that localization key is not found. Okay, so let me check one more time. So we have because I'm running on iOS simulators, so I'm gonna have to go to my iOS and runners and in for plist. Now I have already included ch, th, and en. So let me do this one more time. Let me go over tools and go to flutter. Let me stop this and go to the tools and then flutter for cleaning project, because I have done this project before and then I remove it, so that might affect this. Okay, so let me build from scratch. So remove everything, and now I'm going to rerun this one more time. I believe that I have good key right here. That's the good key. Then I register for those key inside the main dot dash, which is those things ch, cn, ti, th, and en, us. And I have the fallback here for en as well. As well as I also have this registration done correctly. So I think it should be because of the fetching of the, okay, the problem with that is because if you look at this, okay, I don't have the key correctly done right here, so that's the problem. Sorry about that. I thought it was because of the refetching of the project. If you look at this, the key that I have doesn't have the products but just home and setup, right? So we're gonna have to change this key a bit. So let's go ahead and go to product here, and change the word product to be home. Okay, and I believe that this should be working now. Okay, it's building up here, and here we go. So let's restart this one more time. Okay, all right, and you can see that now it's become Thai. So if I click over here and go to Chinese, it's now become Chinese. So if I go here and then change it back to English, it's become English. So any part that you need translation, you can always welcome do that. So over here, you can see that we have the word setup. Okay, so when we change it into another language like Thai, then the setup should be written in Thai. So how do we do this, Bo? We know that this is just a text. So we go to the language switch page, which is language setup page right here, and go to the sorry, the list page. And in the drawer part, we use the word setup. Am I right? So we just have to put .tr. Okay. Since we already have put this at the top of this. Okay. So don't forget to put this at the top of the file for translation support. And now you can call .tr, and let me restart this one more time. Okay, so now let me go over here. You can see that now this become Thai already. If I move back to English, then this is English. This is English. Let me move to Chinese. So over here, this is Chinese, and this is also written in Chinese. So hopefully for this tutorial, it would allow you to, create an application to support multiple languages. So when you need the text translation, okay, we use .tr. So that's the trick, okay? And that is all for this video tutorial. Thanks a lot for watching.